The sensation of the black dress is all wrong as I stand before the casket of my 7-year-old son. It feels inappropriate because Nathan should be here by my side, holding my hand and sharing this unbearable burden. It's wrong because parents should not have to outlive their children. Moreover, while I'm laying our son to rest, my husband Nathan is in Hawaii with his mistress. I know this since a photo appeared on my phone 10 minutes ago, showing Nathan, tanned and smiling with a cocktail in hand, his arm around a blonde woman no older than 30. The accompanying message read, "Thought you should know what your husband's really doing today. Signed, a concerned friend." My mother's grip tightens on my arm. "Gabrielle, you're shaking." I am, and my phone quivers in my grip until I shove it back into my purse. Around us, mourners whisper and cast glances. Of course they know. Secrets in our small town spread like wildfire, and Nathan's absence at his own son's funeral will be gossip fodder for months to come. "I'll kill him," my mother mutters, rage in her voice. "I'll kill that bastard with my bare hands." Lucas's small coffin glows under the chapel lights, while white roses cover its surface. These were his favorite flowers since he discovered they could change color with food coloring. We had spent countless hours in the hospital conducting little science experiments, delighting in watching pale petals transform into vibrant blues and purples, anything to see him smile through his pain. Nathan's parents linger on the periphery of the gathering with carefully guarded expressions. Linda, my mother-in-law, catches my eye and quickly looks away. She knows too. She probably always has. The funeral director, Mrs. Thompson, approaches with a clipboard in hand, asking if we are ready to begin. I want to shout that I'm not ready. That none of this feels right, that Lucas should be home playing video games or bargaining for 5 more minutes before bedtime. Instead, I nod and take my place in the front pew. My phone buzzes again, this time a message from Nathan himself. "Sorry I couldn't make it, important business meeting. I'll make it up to you." The rage that fills me is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It briefly eclipses my grief, leaving behind something colder and more dangerous. I delete the message, straighten my spine, and let Nathan enjoy his Hawaiian paradise with his cheap mistress. Let him believe he's winning, think that I'll crumble into a grieving widow. I won't. I'm going to destroy him. Not just for abandoning us during Lucas's illness or missing his funeral, but for every lie, every betrayal, every moment he chose himself over our son. I'll dismantle everything he holds dear piece by piece until he understands what loss truly feels like. The reception after Lucas's funeral resembles a stage performance where everyone is playing their assigned roles. In my parents' kitchen, my mother-in-law Linda corners me, her perfectly manicured hand gripping my arm a bit too tightly. "Nathan's going through a difficult time," she says, her voice laced with artificial sympathy. "We all process grief differently." I shake off her touch and focus on arranging untouched cookies on a serving plate. "Is that what we're calling it now? Processing grief in Hawaii?" Her lips tighten into a sharp line. "You always had a flair for dramatics, Gabrielle. Maybe if you'd been more understanding during Lucas's illness. Don't you dare." My mother's voice slices through the kitchen like a knife. She stands in the doorway, fury burning in her eyes like I've never seen before. "Don't you dare blame my daughter for your son's cowardice." Linda's composed facade slips for just a moment, exposing something nasty underneath. "Margaret, this is hardly the time." "It's exactly the time." My mother steps forward, somehow towering over Linda despite her shorter stature. "While my daughter was sleeping in hospital chairs for months, where was Nathan? While my grandson was fighting for his life, where were you and Robert with your family support?" The sound of breaking china makes everyone jump. I've crushed one of the cookies in my hand, crumbs scattering across the counter. In the living room, I hear my father asking someone about his newspaper for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. "We contributed financially," Linda says stiffly, which is more than can be said for some people. My mother laughs harshly. "Oh yes, your precious money. Tell me, Linda, does Nathan know about the trust fund yet? The one Robert's father left specifically for his great-grandchildren?" Linda's face turns pale. It's the first time I've seen her so rattled. Clearly, it wasn't meant for my ears. but that's the first time I'd ever heard about any trust fund. She hisses that it's a family matter. Lucas was family, I say quietly, as the pieces begin to align. He was the sole great-grandchild, which implies that money was meant for him. The kitchen fills with a thick silence, heavy with unsaid accusations. Linda's perfect composure falters enough to reveal the calculation behind her eyes. The times she subtly discouraged Nathan from spending time with Lucas, those convenient business trips she arranged during his hospital stays, it wasn't just emotional distance, it was deliberate. "I think you should leave," my mother says. Linda is already retreating, her heels making a staccato beat on the hardwood floor, each click like a nail driven into my mounting anger. I turn to my mother. "Tell me everything about that trust fund." Her smile is grim. "Oh, sweetheart, this is just the beginning of all that I have to say." 3 days after the funeral, I discover the life insurance documents in Nathan's home office. They're strewn across his desk like fallen leaves, not filed away neatly. Forms, receipts, and a post-it note showing a hastily scrawled call summary catch my attention. My hands tremble as I shuffle through the papers. Lucas's policy was taken out just 6 months after his diagnosis, valued at $2 million. The beneficiary line captures my focus. Nathan Thompson, the sole beneficiary, with my name struck out. The alteration was made merely weeks before Lucas passed away. Suddenly, my phone hums, a text from an unfamiliar number. "We need to talk. Coffee shop on Main, now. Samantha." The name is like a jolt. Sam, the woman from the Hawaii photo. The same Sam from the post-it note. When I find her, she's exactly where she mentioned, radiating an aura of wealth that indicates someone else's money. She doesn't rise when I approach. Instead, she stirs her coffee with deliberate precision. "I'm surprised you came," she remarks without looking up. "I'm surprised you dare to contact me," I reply. At that, she looks up, and an unyielding edge lingers in her eyes. "Nathan's been making promises, big ones, but now he doesn't answer my calls." "What kind of promises?" I ask. "A fresh start, a new life together." She laughs, a bitter sound. "Funded by your son's insurance money." The world reels, and I cling to the table's edge, my knuckles whitening. "He told you about it?" "He tells me everything," she says while pulling out her phone, scrolling through messages, "including how he ensured you'd never see a penny. Apparently, it was his mother's idea. She never believed you deserved their family's money." "Why are you telling me this?" I question. Samantha leans in closer. "Because he's deceiving both of us. That policy he promised to share. But I found out he has gambling debts. Big ones, Gabrielle, the kind that make people desperate." My throat feels parched. "You're lying," I whisper. She slides her phone over, showing text messages, bank statements, photos, a digital trail of months-long betrayal. Nathan and Linda scheming, Nathan and Samantha plotting. Nathan frequenting casinos and dealing with loan sharks when he should have been there for our dying son. "I'm not the villain here," Samantha insists, her voice subdued. "I'm just another mark in his game. But unlike you, I've got nothing left to lose." I rise, the chair scraping the floor. "You're wrong about one thing. There's nothing left for me to lose either. Not anymore." She smiles, baring her teeth. "Then perhaps we should aid each other." I scrutinize this woman who helped dismantle my family, and understand she might just be the weapon I need to target Nathan's heart. Later, I find my father in Lucas's room, clutching one of Lucas's stuffed animals, the worn penguin that accompanied him on every hospital visit. He glances up, wearing that all-too-familiar confused expression. But now there's something different in his eyes. "You look just like your mother, especially when she's scheming something dangerous," he says, his voice clearer than it has been for months. I sink onto Lucas's bed, the mattress still bearing the dent from his final days. "Dad, do you remember what we talked about yesterday?" He gently strokes the penguin's matted fur. "No, but I remember Lucas telling me about the trust fund." He frowns. "Was that real?" My heart skips a beat. "What trust fund, Dad?" "The one Nathan's father wanted to." I take a deep breath, the weight of realization heavy on me. When Lucas was ill, Robert came with papers, mentioning something about safeguarding family possessions. He stood there, momentarily disoriented. Did I dream that? I ask, gently taking his hand despite my thundering heart. No, Dad. I reply softly. Exactly when did this occur? His eyes cloud as he recalls. Your mother was at the hospital with Lucas when Robert brought those documents. Abruptly, he grips my hand firmly, surprising me with his strength. I didn't sign them. Something fell off, like smelling smoke without seeing fire. The pieces begin to form a clear picture. Robert's unannounced visit, Linda's subtle manipulations, Nathan's improbable interest in our family assets. It wasn't just about Lucas's insurance money. They aimed to seize everything with my father in a fragile state. A buzz from my phone signals a message from Samantha. Nathan has returned and is meeting with his lawyer tomorrow regarding property transfers. My father's voice breaks. I should have protected you both better. I assure him, Dad, you did. By not signing those papers, you shielded us. I rise, my resolve forming. Now it's my turn. He presents a stuffed penguin, and I recall Lucas telling me, you know about Nathan. He said not to worry about you, because you're stronger than you seem. His eyes cloud again as he mumbles, who's Nathan? The familiar agony of watching him fade is mixed with newfound determination. My phone buzzes once more. It's Uncle Peter. I found something in the property records. Come to my office now. I kiss my father's forehead. I have to go, Dad, but I promise they won't take anything else from our family. His vague smile is already consumed by fragmented memories, but his earlier words resonate in me, like unseen fire. They assumed they could exploit my father's illness to abscond with our legacy, but they handed me the very proof I needed. The penguin goes into my bag, a silent reminder of the battle I'm waging. Why surrender isn't an option. Uncle Peter's office, a fortress of files and legal papers, reveals its secrets not from a drawer, but on his computer screen. A timeline of property transfers dates to when Lucas first fell ill. Been in the works for months, Peter comments, scrolling through countless documents. Shell companies, concealed accounts, all pointing back to Nathan and his parents. My fingers skim the dates on the screen. Each corresponds to a hospital admission, a chemotherapy session. Days when saving Lucas consumed all my attention, oblivious to Nathan's schemes. Here's the kicker, Peter reveals, opening another file. They used Lucas's medical expenses to justify emergency asset sales. Everything discreetly moved to accounts out of your reach. A knock interrupts. Samantha enters, looking less composed than usual. Sorry to interrupt, but Nathan's meeting was advanced. He's at the lawyer's office now. Peter checks his watch, shocked. Wasn't that meeting set for Linda later? Samantha interjects. They're signing everything over today. A text from Nathan pops on my phone. We need to discuss the house. I'm coming by later. The house, my parents' residence, where my father resides. Where Lucas spent his final days, the property entwined with 3 generations of my family. Show me everything, I assert to Peter, my voice stable despite the growing storm inside. Every document, every transfer, every deceit. For the next hour, we painstakingly pieced together Nathan's gambling debts shrouded behind false companies, Linda's methodical disassembly of our joint assets, Robert's coercion of my father into relinquishing property rights. Something else, Samantha whispers, pulling out her phone. She plays a recording where Nathan and Linda discuss leveraging my father's dementia. In the ensuing silence, Lucas's voice echoes in my mind. Promise you won't let them take our home, Mom. We can stop them, Peter affirms, but we must act swiftly. I gather our printed evidence. No, I'm not just going to stop them. I retrieve the penguin from my bag, placing it on Peter's desk. I'm taking everything back and ensuring they can't hurt anyone again. Samantha smiles knowingly, understanding the conviction in my words. Peter, get your coat, I instructed. We have a meeting with Nathan's lawyer, and this time, we're not leaving empty-handed. I had anticipated this because I knew precisely where they had hidden the real estate contracts. We set off. Unlikely allies gathered by betrayal, with the worn-eyed penguin watching us as we left. The lawyer's office exuded an air of entrapment. Nathan was seated at the conference table, with Linda and Robert on either side like sentinels, a barrier formed by the substantial stack of documents laid between us. "You're complicating this beyond necessity," Nathan remarked, pushing the papers my way. "Just sign for Lucas." My hand gripped the USB in my pocket firmly, the drive containing a record of all fraudulent documents, recorded discussions, and evidence Peter had assisted me in compiling. "Don't you dare to mention his name." Linda leaned forward, her polished nails tapping on the table. "Gabrielle, you're obviously not thinking clearly. Grief distorts the mind." Samantha's voice permeated the room as she entered, Peter trailing her. "Show them what we discovered." Nathan's face turned pale as he saw her. "What's the meaning of her presence?" I connected the USB to the lawyer's computer. The projector sprang to life, displaying document after document, property transfers, forged signatures, conversations regarding my father's condition used as leverage to expropriate our family home. "It's concluded," I stated, though Nathan halted me with a cold smile. "Actually," he drew out another file. "You ought to see this first." The documents within froze my blood. Photographs depicting Peter with known criminals, questionable bank transfers from my mother's account, emails suggesting long-term tax fraud. "Imagine the devastation for your family," Linda gently spoke. "Your uncle's business obliterated, your mother incriminated, your father forced from his cherished home. Where would he live in his condition?" Peter attempted to speak, but Nathan interrupted. "We can erase all of this or obliterate everything you own. It's your decision." The room reeled. Every plan I formed, every piece of evidence gathered, crumbled like ash in my mouth. They weren't seeking only money. They ensured an insurance policy for this very moment. "You have until tomorrow morning," Nathan declared as he stood. "Choose wisely." They departed, leaving me, Peter, and Samantha behind, the projector still displaying the incriminating evidence, now futile against their counter-threat. "They won't cease," Samantha whispered. "Piece by piece, they'll strip everything until nothing remains." I gazed at the last photo. Lucas in the hospital, Nathan predictably missing. My son fought tooth and nail, never surrendering against all odds.
"No,"
I said, my voice steadier than expected. "They won't claim another thing from us, because we're abandoning their game." Peter placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "What's on your mind?" "It's high time we stop engaging them at their level," I responded. "We must redefine the rules." The lights flickered, casting shadows on the documented crimes of both parties. The dawn of tomorrow seemed infinitely distant. My mother's kitchen, once a place of refuge, transformed into a war room with files scattered across every surface. Margaret meticulously laid out what she called her insurance policy. "I've been monitoring Nathan's scams since Lucas' initial hospitalization," she disclosed, exhibiting years of surveillance photos, bank records, and conversation recordings. I sensed something amiss when he began pressuring Henry over the property titles. Peter picked up a document, his eyes widening. "These transfers are legally binding," he exclaimed, "but they're not what Nathan expects." A knock at the door startled us. Enter Samantha, her designer outfit swapped for casual attire, her phone capturing everything. "They're en route," she informed. "Linda persuaded Nathan tonight's the optimum time to corner your decision." "Perfect timing," my mother remarked, an uncharacteristic tone of determination in her voice. Wrapped in silk, Peter showed her the documents on his tablet. Every asset Nathan thought he had seized, every property he coveted, was legally transferred, not to him, but to a trust in Lucas' name, with me as the executor.
"How?"
I whispered, astounded. "Your father possessed more moments of clarity than they anticipated." Margaret claims that in those times when Nathan was busy forging documents, they ensured every actual transfer was correctly witnessed and notarized. Car doors slam as headlights shine across the windows, prompting Peter to remind, "Let them think they're in control." bursting in without knocking. Nathan enters with Linda and Robert trailing behind, holding a folder containing threats against my family, announcing triumphantly, "Time's up. Have you made your decision?" I rise, allowing my hands to tremble, playing the part they expect. "You win," I concede. "I'll sign whatever you want." Linda's grin echoes her son's. "I knew you'd see the light," she says. But Samantha steps forward, her phone still recording. "Perhaps you should watch this first." The blood drains from Nathan's face as a recording plays of him admitting to insurance fraud and manipulating my father, including plans executed while Lucas was dying. It's not just his voice. Linda is also heard, orchestrating every move. "You set us up," Nathan growls, lunging forward, but Peter bars his way. "No," I quietly reply. "You set yourself up. Every illegal transfer, every counterfeit document, it's all led to a paper trail already sent to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division." Linda reaches for the folder, but my mother seizes it. "Looking for these?" The funny thing about evidence is it serves both ways, especially when documented by a retired legal secretary with 40 years of safeguarding family assets. Nathan's face distorts. "You can't." But I've already stopped him. I already have. Now the question is, how far do you want this to go? I'm prepared to lose everything to ensure you lose more. The ensuing silence feels like long-awaited justice. As the morning frost crunches beneath my feet, I make my way through the cemetery, where Lucas's headstone stands pristine and bright, capturing the early sunlight. I clear away fallen leaves and place a worn penguin stuffed animal against the stone. "You be proud of your grandmother," I whisper softly. "She outsmarted them all." Nathan and Linda face federal charges for financial fraud, while Robert has turned state's evidence, finally finding his voice after decades of passive compliance. Lucas's rightful trust fund will go to the pediatric cancer ward where he spent his final months. "He's at peace now," my father states, startling me as he approaches, appearing more lucid than he has been in weeks. "Lucas told me so." "Dad, you're having a good day," I remark. He shakes his head. "No, the night he came to me, said not to worry about you anymore. Said you'd discover your strength." He brushes his fingers against the penguin's matted fur. Funny thing about strength, sometimes it looks like revenge, but it's really just love and armor. The weight of everything, the battles won, the family protected, the justice served, settles around my shoulders like a familiar coat, not comfortable, but necessary. Samantha departed town after providing her testimony, leaving me a final note. "Some victories don't feel like winning." She was right. It doesn't feel like triumph, but survival. My phone buzzes with Peter's update about the last of Nathan's assets being frozen, but I silence it. That chapter is closed. "Ready to go home?" I ask my father. He looks at the headstone, something shifting behind his eyes. "Did I tell you about Lucas visiting?" "Yes, Dad, just now." "Oh," he pauses then smiles. "Good. Wouldn't want to forget that." As we turn to leave, a monarch butterfly catches my eye, landing on Lucas's grave, its wings sparkling in the sunlight like stained glass. My father reaches for it, but I place my hand on his. "Let it be," I say, finally understanding. Revenge wasn't what I needed. It was this, safeguarding what remains, honoring what was lost, finding peace between justice and mercy. The butterfly takes flight, dancing on the morning breeze, as my father watches it go, turns to me with clear eyes. "Shall we have pancakes?" Lucas always loved pancakes. "Yes," I respond. Taking his arm, he did. We leave the penguins standing guard, a silent sentinel against the marble. Behind us, the butterfly spirals upward, free and unburdened, showing us how to let go.